Hello everyone, my name is Commander Tofu, and today I'm here to talk about Conflux. Conflux is a beautiful card. It lets you tutor for a card of each color for the low price of 8 mana. Lately I've been a little obsessed with this card and the meme potential it has, so today I'm going to show you guys the 3 dumbest ways to win a game of Commander using just one Conflux. The first combo is a pretty well-known classic. The 5 cards you tutor for are Hive Mind, and then Intervention Pact, Pact of the Titan, Slaughter Pact, and Summoner's Pact. Hive Mind makes it so that whenever someone plays an instant or sorcery, everyone else copies it. The pacts are all 0 mana instants, but they make you lose the game at the start of your next turn if you don't pay a certain mana cost. So, you play out your Hive Mind, and then you Pact of the Titan to make a 4/4 giant. Then you Intervention Pact to prevent all the damage from your giant to you, because why not, and then you Slaughter Pact your own giant just to send a message. And finally, you cast Summoner's Pact and fail to find just to send another message. Remember that each time you play one of these pacts, the Hive Mind makes everyone else play it as well. Since all of your opponents had to copy all of these spells, they'll have to pay 9 white, red, black, green during their upkeeps or they lose the game. Now this doesn't technically guarantee a win, because if your opponents are playing a 4 or 5 color deck, or if they have a ton of treasures for some reason, then they might actually be able to pay the cost. But this combo still gives you a pretty decent chance of getting a victory.
They've done studies, 60% of the time, it works every time.
All in all, this combo costs just 14 mana to pull off, because only the Conflux and the Hive Mind cost mana. I know that sounds like a lot, but since you're in all 5 colors anyway, you have access to every card like Mirari's Wake, Mana Reflections, or Chromatic Orrery, so you can probably find a way to get up to 14 mana before the end of a game. Before we get to our even jankier combos, it's trivia time. Conflux is pretty unique for being a 5-color sorcery. Coalition Victory is another 5-color sorcery, but it's banned in Commander because it literally just makes you win the game when you play it. But there's actually one more 5-color sorcery that's Commander legal. Can you guess what it is? Stick around to the end if you want the answer. Now back to the video. Next up we have a much worse combo that you've probably never seen before. For this combo, when you play Conflux, the 5 cards you need to tutor for are Elish Norn, Donate, Cadaver Imp, Allurin, and Impact Tremors. You start by playing Elish Norn, which gives all of your creatures +2/+2 and everyone else's creatures -2/-2. Then, you donate the Elish Norn to one of your opponents.
But why? Why would you do that? Why would you do any of that?
Don't worry, there is a method to my madness here. Once you've donated the Elish Norn, you play your Impact Tremors and your Allurin. Impact Tremors makes it so that whenever one of your creatures enters the battlefield, everyone else takes 1 damage. And Allurin makes every creature that costs 3 or less free, and it also gives them flash. Once you have all of this set up, you play your Cadaver Imp, which is basically like a Black Eternal Witness. Now for the weird part. Your Cadaver Imp enters the battlefield and its ability triggers, and the Impact Tremors will also trigger. But before you put those triggered abilities on the stack, the game performs state-based actions. State-based actions are basically game actions that happen automatically, and there's a long list of them. Some examples are the Legend Rule, or tokens disappearing when they leave the battlefield, or players losing when they have 0 life. All of these things just automatically happen when they're supposed to happen. Well, one of the state-based actions is that any creature with 0 or less toughness dies. So your Cadaver Imp will die and go to your graveyard. After that happens, you then get to put the Impact Tremors trigger and the Cadaver Imp trigger on the stack, and you get to choose the target of the Imp's trigger. Since your Cadaver Imp is already in your graveyard, you can target it with its own ability to put itself back into your hand. So you can just keep playing your Cadaver Imp over and over again for free, and each time you do, all of your opponents take 1 damage. I know this seems super weird and like it shouldn't work, but I double checked this with a judge, and you are definitely allowed to put Cadaver Imp back into your own hand with its own ability if someone else has an Elish Norn. There is one small detail when trying to pull off this combo though. You want to stack your triggers so that your Cadaver Imp brings itself back to your hand first, and then while the 1 damage from the Impact Tremors is still on the stack, you want to flash the Cadaver Imp back in using Allurin. If you keep doing that, then the damage triggers from the Impact Tremors will just keep piling on top of each other. Once you've built up a big enough pile of ping triggers, you can let them resolve all at once at the end. This might seem a little unnecessary, but if you do the pings one at a time, then you might accidentally end up killing the player you donated the Elish Norn to first, and then your combo will stop working. So remember to pile up all of your ping triggers, and then let them all resolve at the end after you're done comboing. This combo clocks in at the not quite as low mana cost of 24 mana, so it's not as competitive as the previous one. If you want to make the combo better, then you can switch out the Donate and the Elish Norn for a Crovax and a Pact of Negation. That'll bring the mana cost down to 20 mana, and it'll also give you a counter backup. But it's not nearly as cool as donating an Elish Norn, so it's up to you what you want to go with. Now for our last combo. This one is super bad, but it's also by far my favorite. Here are the steps. You play your Conflux and you tutor for Transcendence, Laboratory Maniac, Lich, Wheel of Misfortune, and Rude Awakening. First, you float out your mana, and then cast the Rude Awakening to untap all of your lands. This step isn't technically necessary for the combo, but you're probably going to need to do it if you want to actually get enough mana to play all your cards. Then you cast the Lich. The Lich is a really strange card that does a lot of things. It makes your life total 0 when you play it, it makes you not lose the game for having 0 or less life, it makes you draw cards instead of gaining life, it makes you sacrifice permanents whenever you're dealt damage, and if you can't sacrifice enough permanents or the Lich leaves the battlefield, you lose the game. Did you get all that? Good. Next, you play Transcendence. Transcendence also has a lot of text. It makes you not lose for having 0 life, like the Lich. It also says you lose the game if you have over 20 life, and whenever you lose life, you gain 2 life for each life you lost. Luckily, the Lich already made our life total 0, so we don't have to worry about Transcendence killing us yet. Next, we play Laboratory Maniac, which says if you have an empty deck and you draw a card, you win. And last but not least, we play Wheel of Misfortune. Wheel of Misfortune makes everyone secretly pick a number. Now, depending on what number you pick, some players get to wheel and others don't, but the only thing we care about is whoever picks the highest number gets dealt damage equal to the number they picked. So now for the fun part. Let's say you pick 1 million for the Wheel of Misfortune. Then you would get dealt 1 million damage. Your Transcendence will then trigger and try to make you gain 2 million life. And the Lich will also trigger and try to make you sacrifice 1 million permanents or you lose the game. But remember, the Lich replaces your life gain with card draw, so instead of gaining 2 million life, instead you try to draw 2 million cards, which makes you win off of Laboratory Maniac. This combo takes 29 mana altogether, but because you get to untap your lands in the middle of it, you can pull it off with just 15 mana worth of lands on the board. That sounds like a lot, but like I said, that's just 8 lands and a Mirari's Wake, which is pretty reasonable. But my favorite part of this combo is that it only works if you pick the biggest number for the Wheel of Misfortune. If you pick 1 million, but someone else figures out what your plan is and they pick like 1,000,001, then they can stop you from winning the game. Sure, it'll also make them take 1,000,001 damage, so they'll probably die, but they can still do it to stop you from winning. So, you only win the game if you can think of a number that's bigger than everyone else's number. This leads to a very interesting question.
Hey Vsauce, Michael here. What is the biggest number you can think of?
Now the actual rules on how to handle this situation are pretty fuzzy. There are a lot of unanswered questions, like do I actually have to write out the number or can I write it out in word form like a Googleplex? Can I choose numbers like Graham's number or Tree 3 or Rayo's number? If you're not a math nerd, then those are just ridiculously big numbers that are probably bigger than any number you've ever thought of. I looked around online and there isn't really a definitive answer to how you can handle this situation. If you were in a tournament, then the judge would probably just say something like, I don't want you guys to spend half an hour trying to write the biggest number possible, so we'll just set the maximum at 1 million. But, for the sake of this video, I'm not talking about tournament rules. There's no way you should even try to pull this combo off in a tournament because it's garbage. I'm just talking about good old-fashioned casual commander rules. So if you pull this combo off in a kitchen table game or at your LGS, then just write whatever big number you can think of. My recommendation would be Rayo's number plus 1, which you would write like this. This number is redonkulously big and very complicated to describe. It's so big that if everyone on the planet started writing digits as fast as they could, they wouldn't be able to finish writing it before the universe ended. It's so big that if you thought of the whole number with all of its digits, your brain would literally turn into a black hole and kill everybody. This number is so big that there was a competition at MIT in 2007 between two mathematicians where they just took turns trying to think of bigger numbers than the other person. And when one of them thought of this number, the other guy gave up. What I'm saying is, it's very big. Now, the +1 is just on the off chance that someone else in your playgroup is also a math nerd and they write down Rayo's number, then you can be like, well, I wrote down Rayo's number +1, get absolutely destroyed. If someone else writes down Rayo's number +2, then they just deserve to stop you from winning. Now, if you think your playgroup wouldn't allow a weird number like Rayo's number, then just take an index card and fill it up with as many tiny ones as possible and leave it in your deck box. That way, when it comes down for everyone to write down their numbers, you can just take out your index card and put it face down on the table. If you fill the entire thing up with tiny ones, then it's pretty unlikely that anyone else is going to write down a number that's bigger than that. On the other hand, if all of this junk with picking the biggest number sounds too complicated for you, then there is another option. Instead of the Wheel of Misfortune, you can just play Volcano Hellion, which is a weird creature that just lets you deal as much damage to yourself as you want when it enters the battlefield. But where's the fun in that? Alrighty, so those were my 3 personal favorite Conflux combos. Let me know in the comments which one was your favorite, or if you have your own super janky Conflux combo. And now for the answer to the trivia question. The only 5-color sorcery other than Conflux that's legal in Commander is... Last Stand. This card does so many things and seems super good, but is still somehow kind of underwhelming. When you play it, you can make somebody lose some life, you can deal some damage to a creature, you can make some 1/1s, you gain some life, and you filter some cards. But since it's all based off of the number of basic land types in your lands, it's not nearly as effective as it sounds. But if you have a deck that's running a bunch of Triomes, or you have a deck with cards like Prismatic Omen and Dryad of the Elysian Grove, then maybe you should actually consider running this card. That's about it for me. If you like the content, then make sure to like and subscribe, or check out the Patreon if you want to support me directly. It really helps a lot. And as always, thanks for watching. Tofu out.